मानवाधिकार हमेशा से भारत के नैतिक ताने बाने में शामिल रहा है। दिल्ली के विज्ञान भवन में आयोजित राष्ट्रीय मानवाधिकार आयोग के 31वें स्थापना दिवस समारोह को बतौर मुख्य अतिथि संबोधित करते हुए उपराष्ट्रपति जगदीप धनखड़ ने ये बातें कहीं। इस मौके पर उपराष्ट्रपति ने कहा कि समानता को समझना होगा क्योंकि यह परिभाषा से परे है। उन्होंने कहा कि किसी भी तरह का भेदभाव मानवाधिकार के मूल पहलुओं के लिए चुनौती है।
Today we are not only commemorating an institution, but the fundamental values that are integral to this institution, integral to the Constitution of India, and more importantly, integral to our society and culture. Equality has to be understood as it is beyond definition as such. However, indisputably, at the core of equality is that all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and in rights. Religion, race, color, sex, status, or other facets are merely superficial. Discrimination in any form is challenging to core aspects of human rights. Human rights are best secured and nurtured with public response. There can be no greater custodian of human rights than the public at large. We need to stand firm when such violations occur. To respect others' human rights is to respect one's own human rights. To respect others' human rights is a divine duty. These rights are inviolable. Preamble of our Constitution, seeking justice, liberty, equality to all citizens, is a sense of human rights. They need to have fraternal feelings with respect, and for persons who have a different point of view, the other point of view, different perceptions and views.
उपराष्ट्रपति ने कहा कि भारतीय संविधान मानवाधिकारों के लिए मार्गदर्शक है। उपराष्ट्रपति ने कहा कि मानवाधिकार सार्वजनिक प्रतिक्रिया से ही सुरक्षित और पोषित होता है।
The civilizational way of thinking of rights did not evolve from political rights or economic rights and then adding other rights, such as freedom of conscience. The basic, the pristine, the organic, the original can be looked into our Vedas and our functioning over the ages. This defined Sukh for all, well-being of all, happiness for all. This defined we come to the planet as trustees, not as exploiters. We live not for us, but for all. We know for sure we can be happy only with everyone being happy. In as much as we have in togetherness to save this planet, because this existential challenge is not to an individual. It is beyond any element of race, caste, creed, color, or geographical boundaries. Similar is the situation with respect to human rights. Our scriptures were and are our charters. They are repository of knowledge and wisdom. They are repository of human way of life. One will have to strive for years to come to add to them. That is ultimate when it comes to knowledge. And these scriptures were loud, everyday proclamation of these rights that society and civilization granted. Our civilization created institutions to ensure that these rights were honored. In any governance in this country at any point of time, those who governed had to listen to the voice of senior people. our sages, our seers, they were the real controllers of morality, propriety, and all that constitutes welfare of humanity at large. Our temples ran open kitchens so that there was freedom from hunger. Education was free, so there was right to education. Friends, if you look at the Indian Constitution, it has 22 paintings. The first one is Gurukul. It defines our society, is concerned that everyone would have access to education. You gave dakshina according to your ability, but there was no tuition fee. Guru dakshina. If you got education, you can reward your teacher, you can honor your teacher. But it did not have compulsion element. It had optional element. It had to emanate not from your fiduciary strength, but from call of your soul. That was sublimity we practiced and are on way to it. Everyone was allowed to practice their faith. Look at our country. Who came? They came. They were received. They were absorbed. They were in oneness. They felt at home in this country in the same manner as they felt at home at other countries. A countries which they had to live under circumstances which are indescribable. That was the scenario, friends. So on and so forth, I can keep on going, but the list is endless. In a way, human rights are very much part of our moral fabric, our way of life. And why only just past? Our contemporaneous governance, look at it. It underlines this very philosophy in several ways. Policies are driven by the idea of human rights. When COVID hit us and hit the world, it was a non-discriminatory challenge to the entire planet. High and mighty and great nations suffered. In that scenario, the government ensured in this country that no one sleeps hungry, regardless of access to their means of livelihood. Free grains were given, friends, to 850 million people, empowering them to face the challenge. What started on 1st April 2020 continues till this date. And I wonder, is still in the world people talk of hunger crisis in this country? I am appalled. 850 million people are getting support of free ration in this country. And that is irrespective of their color, caste, creed, religion, geographical location, or other aspects. All I can say is, those who think about India's hunger situation need to reflect and get into repentance mode. This moral fiber is driving governance in this country.
उपराष्ट्रपति जगदीप धनखड़ ने एक बार फिर लोगों को आगाह किया। उन्होंने कहा कि कुछ खतरनाक ताकतें भारत को बदनाम करने की कोशिश कर रही हैं।
While track record of Bharat as a nation, as custodian of human rights, is singularly remarkable, and this I am saying with utmost restraint. I am using minimum words. In this scenario, there are pernicious forces within and without that in a structured manner seek to unfairly taint us. These forces are overzealously in overdrive they have an agenda that is far distanced from human values or concern for human rights. Friends, such is the sinister design that on all conceivable occasions, these forces that are inimical to Bharat avail national and international fora to tarnish our fair human rights record, arrogating for themselves the right to calibrate. I pose a question to myself. Who has imparted this right to them? And it is most opaque. Hardly due diligence. Ground reality is very different, as I indicated about hunger situation. Some of these think, and that is a colonial mindset. They think they are ordained to enjoy such a right to harangue you. Civilizations like ours, to doctor situations, to impede our growth. These forces have to be neutralized by actions that exemplify, if I may say so in Indian context, pratighat. These people have another strategy. They devise their own indices. They rank everyone in the world. The exercise smacks of imperial hubris. To show a nation in bad color, they have a list of nations. I dare them to come to this country. If there is heavenly spirit, heavenly ecosystem, it exists more here than any part of the globe. We are a nation of saints and sages, culture and civilization, empathy, sympathy. During COVID, facing a challenge, we supported 100 other countries. Wherever there has been a crisis in the globe, by way of evacuation requirement or earthquake, this country has always gone ahead. Expansion is the worst form of human rights transgression. This country has never believed in expansion, has been victim of expansion. Prime Minister of this country has unequivocally stated on a global platform, we are not living in an era of expansion. We have to resolutely address issues and conflagrations by discussion and diplomacy. This is Bharat. Friends, do you think a country that had such a holistic idea of rights takes care of everyone? Do we require sermonizing? Do we require lecturing about human rights? We are open to all ideas. We are resilient. But we don't need lecturing or sermonizing on human rights aspect. Certainly not. I must, friends, compulsively advert to unfortunate aspect as well. Unfortunately, this great civilization suffered taint on its otherwise unblemished record. I must record it, you see. Not that we have not had air pockets or strong headwinds that traumatized people on the plank of human rights. We had, but limited. Bharat, long championed as a guardian of human rights, faced three stark transgressions that scared generations. They scare my generation. They are scary for younger generations also. The brutal partition being one, the oppressive emergency being the other, and the horrific 1984 riots. These traumatic events stand as somber reminders of the fragility of civil liberties and the imperative to vigilantly safeguard human dignity. But then we are a nation to quickly fix situations, to learn our lessons. As a tribute to our deep commitment to human rights, laudable steps have been taken. I will recount only the recent ones. The nation is celebrating Constitution Day, 26th November, every year. This will remind us all to fervently work towards a realization of noble values emanating from our preamble, thereby nurture human rights and create an atmosphere for their blossoming. Another significant step was taken this year. June 25 will be observed every year as Svidhan Hatya Divas to mark imposition of draconian emergency. Friends, this is intended to honor the spirit of millions who struggle to revive democracy, despite facing inexplicable persecution at the hands of an oppressive government then. This will help keep the eternal flame of individual freedom and defense of democracy alive in every Indian. Youngsters will come to know all about these aspects every year. The nation, and friends in particular, my young friends, must be informed that on June 25, 1975, the then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, in a brazen display of dictatorial mindset, strangled the soul of our democracy by imposing emergency on the nation, resulting in violation of human rights. Lakhs of people were thrown behind the bars for no fault of their own, and the voice of the media was silenced. And judiciary at the apex level failed as never before. And therefore this step has been taken. These are not being looked in this country from partisan angle. In this country we look at events and situations only from one angle, and that is angle of nationalism, angle of constitution.
उपराष्ट्रपति जगदीप धनखड़ आज पंजाब के एक दिवसीय दौरे पर मोहाली पहुंचे। वहां उन्होंने भारत की सदी में नेतृत्व विषय पर इंडियन स्कूल ऑफ बिजनेस नेतृत्व शिखर सम्मेलन को संबोधित किया। इस मौके पर उपराष्ट्रपति ने कहा कि लोकतंत्र और शासन में युवाओं की भूमिका काफी अहम होती है। उपराष्ट्रपति ने युवाओं से देश को 2047 तक विकसित बनाने की राह में योगदान देने का आह्वान किया।
You are young minds. You are young minds at the ISB. You are young minds at the moment participating in ISB Leadership Summit. Your segment is most significant stakeholder in governance and democracy. Our youth demographic dividend is envy of the world at the moment, and it is fuel to our growth engine, destined to accomplish a developed nation at 2047. I must appreciate the management for having crafted such a theme. And the theme is Leadership in India's Century. This bears, boys and girls, use contemporaneous relevance. And why not? It is for the first time in history that Voice of India, Voice of India's Prime Minister, is heard with respect as never before. India has come to count. India has come to count in global affairs consistent with its populace, being repository of knowledge and wisdom, home to 1/6 of humanity. Never before we had that enjoyable moment as we are having now. Having been elected to Parliament in 1989, I faced a situation where our foreign exchange was $1 billion US. $1 billion. We have crossed 700 billion last week. What an accomplishment. 700 times something beyond a geometric leap. India is being looked upon as a nation that can resolutely address issues that are confronting the globe.
उपराष्ट्रपति ने कहा कि प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी के नेतृत्व में पिछले वर्षों में देश ने असाधारण प्रगति की है। भारत के आर्थिक विकास का जिक्र करते हुए उपराष्ट्रपति ने कहा कि भारत विकास के अभूतपूर्व पथ पर आगे बढ़ रहा है।
To begin with, the Indian century. Bharat, our Bharat, is no longer a nation with promise. Some people have wrong notions that India has arrived. They are mistaken. We are no longer a nation with promise. The promise has been realized, fully exploited. We are a nation on the rise. The rise is unstoppable. The rise is incremental. And the rise is continual, and the rise is in various elements that matter to our growth. Let me advert to some aspects that make Bharat a land of hope and possibility. And before that, all of you know it. Just a decade ago, what was the mood of the nation? We were in a state of despondency and dejection. The daily public domain discourse was one of scams, corruption, favoritism. What has been transformed in a decade? There is all-pervasive mood of hope and possibility. And I had seen those days 34 years ago when world institutions, the IMF and the World Bank, used to be dictatorial like a teacher in a class for a student who has not done homework. And we were just meekly sitting. But look at what they say. We are getting accolades from International Monetary Fund. And the accolade is favorite global investment and opportunity destination. I have had the occasion to meet the head of IMF, enormously talented lady. And every time she talked of India, it was in these words. And why not? This is the ground reality. Our technological advancements, deep penetration and digitalization are termed by the World Bank as a global role model, indicating by a statement that what India accomplished in 6 years is otherwise not possible in 4 decades plus. Our exponential economic upsurge makes Bharat the fastest growing large global economy. India has transformed in the last decade, becoming a $4 trillion economy with 8% growth potential, expanding infrastructure with 4 new airports and 1 metro systems built yearly.